Hollywood may have officially, finally run out of ideas. This week, we got to see a trailer from a series that's being completely rebooted and remade after only about 10 years. We also got the brilliant idea from WB that we really need a sequel to Lord of the Rings, but it's mostly just going to serve to highlight deleted scenes. Is that what we've come to now? We're really strip mining stuff here. Anyways, let's talk about it. So here I've got the new trailer for the Philosopher's Stone. At least they decided that Americans are smart enough to figure out what philosophers are now, so they just kept the British title, I guess. And for the most part, visually it looks good. It looks like it has the HBO money behind it. Yeah, it's going to look great. It's also showing off scenes that we haven't seen before, but I can't help but feel still, what's the point, all right? You're not doing anything really all that different. The fact of the matter is that, yes, when you do a series, you're gonna have a lot more time to play with for adapting this material. The problem is the first about 3 Harry Potter books are only around 75,000 to 80,000 words. That's not actually all that long, which is why the movies were actually able to cover most of the material pretty well. So for me, this series has really the disadvantage of you're not going to get to the advantage of a long-form series until you hit about book 4, which makes the first 3 seasons feel incredibly redundant. You have book 4, book 5, and book 6. They're the ones that will really benefit from this series because a lot had to be cut in them. However, once you get to book 7, that was split into 2 movies, which basically, again, covers everything that's in the book. So you're basically remaking 7 seasons of television for only 3 television series to actually have any kind of benefit. This new version of Harry Potter is probably a massive budget, and I can't help but feel it's like that money could have been spent better elsewhere. And if you want to continue the Harry Potter franchise, good, you could have done that. I think as seen with the latest Harry Potter video game, there's a lot of interest in returning to Hogwarts with a different set of characters. You could have done something like, this is just a spitball pitch, you could have set it in World War II. You could have had a bunch of kids fleeing London during the air raids and sent off to Hogwarts. Then you have a new cast of character, you have a period piece, and you could have even continued, if you wanted to, some of the storyline stuff from Fantastic Beasts that was going to get abandoned. You could have brought back even Jude Law as Dumbledore. Okay, these are just ideas. There's a lot you can still do in the Harry Potter universe and still be interesting. For me, this just all feels so just unnecessary. It's so fresh in our minds, the original movies, that I look at this and I just find it so hard to get excited for it. I'm sure that the young actors are going to do great. I have the best hope for them and stuff, but I really just don't care, I guess. It's hard to get behind it when something fresh and original would have been much better. As for the cast and stuff, again, we don't know the kids at all. They look all good and stuff. They look like they fit their parts. The one everyone attaches to is Snape being black in this. Maybe he's going to be great in his role and stuff. I do understand the critique. It's going to add a weird racial element to some of the stuff, like especially once you get to the bullying scenes between James and Snape. There's going to get some weird racial undertones from that, but I'm actually even less worried about that and more worried about how basically in the story, Dumbledore turns him into this indentured servant who basically has to work for him. That's a little problematic on its own, all right? Adding that racial element does do that, but again, we're just gonna have to see how good he is in that role because he could be great for all we know. He could have had just an amazing audition. For all I know, he could just be doing a Alan Rickman impersonation for the entire thing. Who knows? That would be great. I'd love it. As for Dumbledore, yeah, John Lithgow, he's looking great in the role. He looks like Dumbledore. But at the same time, I go, he's 80 years old. Why'd you do this again? Let's say they're able to release 1 season a year, which they already said they're not going to be able to do. So even then, he would be 87 by the end of the series, okay? You're really, really gambling that he's going to survive through the entire series. Let's say they only put out a series every 2 years like they're doing for most HBO series now. Now he's going to be, like 94 by the time the series is over? There is a good chance they're going to have to recast Dumbledore again, all right? Ugh. And as for Nick Frost, I'm sorry, all I can see is Nick Frost. I just look at him and I go, that's not Hagrid, that's Nick Frost doing cosplay as Hagrid. But who knows, I'll probably lean into it a bit when I actually see it. Again, I don't think the trailer's bad. I think visually it looks good. It looks like Harry Potter, it looks true and faithful to the source, but I just can't even begin to care about this. They should have done something original, they should have actually used some creativity, and this just feels like it's reheated leftovers. I don't want a cold dinner, all right? Make me a fresh dinner. So let's get to the other one. Now this one is the one which is really kind of getting to me, all right? Now, I don't want to lean too much into it because I'm a little suspicious that this is playing up into a long-winded April Fool's joke, because this is such a bad idea, it feels like it should be an April Fool's joke. That on April Fool's, Stephen Colbert is going to come out onto his show and go, haha, got y'all, just kidding. One can only hope, because this idea is bonkers crazy. This is one of the worst ideas I've ever heard. First off, they're pitching an idea for a sequel to Lord of the Rings, which was never written. It doesn't exist. This is a terrible idea, and one of the things people hate about Rings of Power, that's just making stuff up instead of adapting all the rich history that they have on hand. It's also terrible because Tolkien said it was a terrible idea. Not a lot of people know this, but Tolkien actually started writing his own sequel to Lord of the Rings. He only got a few chapters in and then stopped because he said, sometimes you just shouldn't. You just shouldn't do this. So he never made a sequel to Lord of the Rings because there shouldn't be one. So this whole idea is basically that there's going to be like a mini adventure happening in the past the events of Lord of the Rings with Sam and his daughter, and it's going to involve him meeting up with the other hobbits, and then they're going to talk about deleted scenes they never got to film during the actual Fellowship of the Rings book. That doesn't sound like a movie with themes, arcs, and characters. That sounds like something that would be like on a DVD special from like the early 2000s. That's what that sounds like. That sounds like that old Beauty and the Beast sequel. I think they did the exact same thing, where it was them like at Christmas, and then it's a flashback to like all the things that happened while it was Belle and the Beast that we just never got to see. Oh, wow. What a great idea. So yeah, I think this idea is complete garbage. And again, this is coming from someone who actually doesn't mind the idea of Hunt for Gollum. I don't mind them taking periods of history within Lord of the Rings and expanding upon it. That's what they would have to do if they're adapting the Silmarillion, or if they ever get the rights to it. The Silmarillion's not written like a classic novel. It's written more like a history text. So if they ever adapted it, they would have to take blocks of history and more kind of write it out to be a more conventional story. So I don't mind them actually doing that as much. I wouldn't mind seeing stuff like the Witch King of Angmar, where it shows his rise and fall, and then you tell a more conventional story within that from various characters witnessing his rise and fall. I also wouldn't mind a story that's the War in the North. What is happening in the North during the events of War of the Rings? That's in the novels, but it's not really shown ever within the films, and you could block that out into its own thing because a lot happens there. But this sort of stuff really is the stuff that really irritates fans. It irritates me. It's kind of spitting on the legacy of the original great films, and I hope that every single actor from the original film has the good sense not to sign on and to stay well away from this. This is a terrible idea, and if they do somehow get it to actually into production, and it's somehow good, it would be an absolute miracle to me. And on that note, Stephen Colbert, what's his qualifications to even make this? I looked through his IMDb page. Let's just do that. You want to look through his stuff. His stuff is basically, he has almost nothing that's actually narrative based. He's got, I think, a show back in the 90s, which is like Strangers with Candy, which was 2005. And then the Strangers with Candy TV show, which is 1999 and 2000. Past that, almost not a writer at all, except within a comedic sense, or within documentaries that he's done before. I don't know why he's qualified to make this at all. And it says he's mostly going to be writing it with his son, who, by the way, also has basically no writing credits. I've seen some articles mention he worked on Rise of the Skywalker, Outer Banks, all these other shows. And then I looked up credits for all those shows. He's not on any of them. So he's uncredited for all this stuff. So if he did work on it, it's almost not at all. And other people have mentioned that they won't be the only writers. They'll be helped out by other people. But I mean, it sounds like Colbert made this pitch and that he's spearheading this effort for writing the script out. And for that, I have zero excitement. And I think this is an awful idea. And I hope this never sees the light of day for many reasons. And if it does see the light of day and is actually really good, I'll eat my words. I don't think I will, though, because I think this sounds absolutely terrible. And I want them not to be strip mining the thin text that they have for Fellowship of the Rings. Take the rich history, run with that. That's where you'll find something good. But that would require you being actually creative and writing something of your own while also obeying the rules and history that Tolkien set in place. And that sounds a little difficult. So maybe that'll never happen. I don't care. Terrible idea. Don't do it. Thanks for joining me on this and my little rant for both of these things. I'll see you next time. Keep those reels turning.